Oh, I think it's Maria. Hello, this is Eric.
Hey guys, it's Maria from B&H.
Hey, Maria.
Do you have time to talk?
Yeah, I've got Stein right here. I'll throw you on speakerphone.
All right, great.
Hey, Maria.
I heard you guys were taking a quick break from your ride, so I wanted to ask you quickly 21 questions. So let's get right into it. So where are you guys right now, and what are you hoping to capture today?
So we're currently in Walla Walla, Washington. We just finished our Ring of Fire bike ride, and today we're hoping to capture our wrap-up interviews to kind of summarize what we did.
Yeah, it's been a really wild adventure so far. We've been on the bikes for 4 weeks now and climbed and skied 12 different volcanoes and 850 miles so far on the bike. So it's been a wild adventure.
So far it's finished.
So I know you guys are on a big road trip. Can you tell me about it and why you're doing it?
So we just finished riding our bikes from Lake Tahoe all the way to Mount Rainier, and we climbed as many volcanoes and skied as many volcanoes as we could along the way. What would you say the inspiration was?
It's been really, I mean, for me, it's been a whole new experience. I'd never really been on a bike before, or I'd never really been on a bike with clips before in my life before this trip. So it was an opportunity to try something new, and then also really just go out there with friends and have an amazing experience where we all grew our friendship and then got to experience a part of the West Coast that we had never really experienced in that fashion before.
Yeah, it was cool. We got to celebrate the American West and the mountains that are in our own backyards. We've worked all around the world on different mountains, different places, and because of COVID and everything going on in the world, we decided to stay close to home and really explore our own backyards.
We had a support crew with Eric's younger brother Kyle Roepke, his girlfriend Dior, who's an amazing chef, and Ben Farrar, who was on all the mountains with us and then also biked part of it. But we had a great time, and yeah, it was just an all-around epic adventure of biking, climbing, and skiing.
That's awesome. So has this quarantine affected your workflow at all?
Yeah, honestly, the quarantine. So the main reason why we're doing this bike ride, honestly, is because of the quarantine. We had 3 to 4 months of isolation, just sitting in Tahoe. All of our work for the spring was canceled. Usually I'm in the Himalaya or Stein's in the Arctic. So we were only able to do this ride because of quarantine. Other than that, honestly, this is a really logistically challenging trip. It required a lot of planning to kind of set up. And it was the first time, we had a lot of opportunities and time to plan this trip. Some of which we used, some of which we did not spend adequate time planning.
COVID was really quite odd because every gym was closed, everything has been on lockdown, so we never really had also the proper training for anything like this. So it was very last minute. I think you called me when I was in Minnesota, drove down, and within 6 days, we were on the bikes and heading up.
So cool. So how do you guys even know each other?
Yeah, so Stein and I were actually paired as roommates freshman year in college. We went to Lewis and Clark and we played on the football team together. Started a business around scrap metal freshman year in college together, and we've been best friends and business partners ever since. Business partners being a looser term now because I don't know what the business is, but the business of adventure.
And since graduating college, we've kind of been on a mission to just create epic and inspiring stories wherever we are around the world, and kind of hold that friendship and that togetherness along the way.
That's a really great story. And so what got you both started in photo and video?
It's weird, our start into photo and video wasn't really normal. We started honestly looking for ways. We're both climbers, we're both skiers, we both love the outdoors, and honestly that came first, and photo and video kind of came as a natural extension of that. We were looking for ways to be able to climb more, ski more, and kind of do our own trips. So originally it started we wanted to go plan a trip to Antarctica. We needed a way to pay for that trip. So they said, oh, you need to have photography and media, and that's how you give value to a sponsor. So we started really low key, iPhone photos, and just worked our way up. We realized the better the photos got, the more sponsorship, the more sponsors were interested.
Yeah, and there was quite an interesting niche, especially with how social media was evolving.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, just using the iPhones, we started creating a few different global stories for Snapchat, and then we created some Instagram stories and other social stories from corners of the earth with like Paul Nicklin and Christina and Sea Legacy.
I would say we haven't really been serious photographers or serious videographers yet, really. We're just kind of getting into the professional space there, and I don't know if we will really. We're kind of using media as leverage, we're using media like entrepreneurs to go on these trips and do these things.
So why bother documenting your travels at all? Why did you find some importance in documenting all your adventures?
Originally, the importance of documenting our travels was mostly just to pay for the trip. Like, we had to find a way to get a sponsor to pay for it. And unless you told someone what you did or showed someone what you did, you didn't get sponsorship. So,
and one of the things we did towards the beginning was we mostly worked with nonprofits. So we did a lot of nonprofit media for years, and to this day we still do a lot of nonprofit work because there was a big need for some of these media organizations that wanted to create awareness around what they were doing, and through a different medium, social media, we were able to help support a lot of these awesome nonprofits with the work they were doing. So that's kind of added a little bit of purpose to documenting what we were doing.
yeah.
So what's each of your go-to cameras?
So yeah, my camera kit personally has changed quite a bit over the years. More climbing, more skiing, film, photography. I've been doing something that has good versatility, something that can do photo and video. All the mirrorless cameras are pretty good at that. I've shot with the Nikon Z6, Nikon Z7, the Sony Sweet GH5s. More recently, I started shooting with the Nikon D850 for stills, and most recently, we got to borrow the Fujifilm X-T3s on this trip. Really liking these cameras a lot. These are great because of the battery grip. They have like one more battery than the average camera, and the mirrorless setup, even with the crop, makes it really light and easy to carry. So, and it's pretty weather resistant as well. So I'm pretty stoked on this one right now. I think I'm going to continue to shoot with the Fujifilm for the near future.
And kind of similar progress to Eric. Started on the GH5, actually the first camera I ever bought. So shot with the GH5, I think we were in Peru, and then brought that kind of all around Antarctica, and then shot when we did the project, Mount Everest biogas project in Nepal. I was on a Sony, and then more recently, actually last year, was my first time shooting on Fuji, the X-T3 Silver on the North Pole crossing, and I mean, it's a great camera. It shoots 4K at 60, and stills are excellent. So and this is Eric. We both have our Fujifilm X-T3s that we've been documenting the last few weeks of this adventure, and it's been awesome. Awesome lightweight camera to have in your pack and shoot quality content.
Yeah, we also have a lot of specialty cameras as well, obviously, like GoPros. We use GoPros for practically everything. Osmos, the DJI Osmo is one of my favorite cameras of all time, just for fits in your pocket, really nice, stabilized look. We're not exactly going for like log footage, anything fancy. We just need some basic levels of documentation for a lot of our stuff. So we're not looking for that really polished, refined, beautiful cinematic look. We're just looking to like tell the story.
Cool. So are your travels your day jobs, or do you shoot other things like commercial photography and videography as well?
Originally, these trips we were doing were kind of, honestly, we're kind of ski bums, and we have been ski bums in the past, so you could say it was our day job, meaning like it was the only thing we were doing for money, but like technically I would not classify it as enough income to be a job. But more recently, now we're actually getting hired commercially, so that's great. We're getting better. We're getting a little better. So now we have regular jobs as well. But I've been doing some shooting for BBC. Stein's been shooting for Rome as well. We've both been shooting for Rome. And we get a little bit more contracts, but now as we're getting older and getting more experience, we're actually trying to go back into our own trips and document our own trips a little better. We're just trying to figure out the business side of that and working on that.
Yeah. To be fully transparent on that, we were also volunteering for a lot of time just to shadow different mentors in the industry. So that was a big gap of a few years of where we were working like pretty much as volunteers to just gain the experience. So yeah, I mean, Erich's going up to a shoot on BBC in a week. So, I mean, that experience builds somewhere.
Yep.
You each have a pretty large following on social media. What helped you get on the map?
Well, I mean, I would say what got us on the social media map was probably working with people who are deep into social media and had huge followings, because that was kind of our grip on media for a few years. I mean, we knew that we weren't professional videographers, we weren't professional photographers. One of the things we were getting really good at was being creative with social stories, and that was Snapchat had a huge audience, and Instagram had a huge audience, and pretty much working with other existing follower bases, which kind of had this inherent I don't know, it was kind of that trickle effect where it's like we were creating stories for these huge accounts, and then just kind of used some of that in terms of, I don't know, we used some of those strategies to help build our own.
Totally.
Do your family and friends understand your adventures?
To this day, my family is still trying to figure out what we're doing. I, for about every 4 months, was getting an email from my parents asking me to figure out a better balance between work and play. So still happens just a little bit. Like now it's every 8 months. So yeah, no, there's a constant kind of gap of understanding, but especially with 2020 so far, it's kind of reaffirming what we're passionate about and just keep doing it. And something's been clicking, so.
Yeah. My mom doesn't really question what I do anymore, but she asks me constantly for something she can tell her family and friends that I do. Like, she's like, what's your job title so I can tell so-and-so, and I can't give an answer ever.
I know this might be tough to answer, but what's your favorite part of your work?
Honestly, my favorite part of the work is getting to share the experience in the story. Like, there's one part, my first favorite part of our work is honestly the life part happening itself. So like, the expeditions are honestly really hard, really incredible, and always really fun, but I really like the idea that because we cover them well, we kind of get to relive them constantly as we share the story later. So every time we post a photo of, say, a certain day on Mount Jefferson, we get to relive that time on Mount Jefferson constantly. So I feel like we do a pretty good job of getting to reminisce on adventures that we've had because of media.
Yeah, and I mean, to echo that sentiment, I truly think that we've met some incredible individuals along the way. So I genuinely love meeting all the people in the industry and kind of growing that community and creating tons of new friends in the space, and then be able to share the stories with friends who usually kind of help share the story around. So it's been really awesome to just go out, share the stories, then help grow this cool community and network of new and old friends.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite tips for somebody inspired by your creative lifestyle and looking for success like you guys?
An initial tip I would probably say is do your research and find some mentors that you can shadow. There's lots of different opportunity out there, and you really don't know what you don't know, so it's worth experimenting and finding others who have lots more experience in the field than you do. So yeah, shadowing and finding mentors is huge and providing more value than you take.
I'd say probably know your limits when you need to know your limits, and other times don't pay attention to them. So like, know your limits, like climbing, skiing. Don't ski or climb something that's above your ability. But then again, in like the media world, just dive in, figure it out. No one's gonna question you. Just start doing it. Something will work out.
Be very persistent.
Okay, easy question. What did you have for breakfast?
This morning for breakfast, I had some eggs and bacon, I think. A little bit of coffee.
Yeah, I ate the same with some coffee. The other morning, I don't know, 4 mornings ago, we had dry oatmeal and sardines. That was
Really gross.
quite terrible. So
Package of dry oatmeal poured in your mouth. 1 a.m.
yeah, 1 in the morning. Yeah. So this morning's breakfast was far better than some of the other ones that we
Ate
spent
like a
on.
king.
If you had to choose biking or skiing,
Skiing.
Hands down prefer no shit. I hands down prefer skiing.
Skiing's a lot more fun than biking for sure. But honestly, I grew a much larger appreciation for biking on this trip. I think I will continue to bike. But like, it's not even a question. Skiing is the best thing in the world. Biking just hurts your butt and your legs.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't really have much experience biking in the past, but now, when I'm driving, I'm going to give every cyclist I see an entire lane. Like,
A little bit.
all right.
There we go, buddy.
Yep, you will have more room that you'd even know to do it.
what's been your favorite location to shoot in while on this trip?
I think my favorite location on the trip to shoot, honestly, was Mount Hood. It was really fun to go up with our friends. We had a good early morning light. There's a really cool knife edge ridge on Mount Hood that just looks really intense. It wasn't that scary standing on it, but then all the photos came out very drastic with like a lot of, it looks like there's a lot of exposure, but it wasn't too intense, but the photos I liked a lot.
Yeah. A couple of my favorite moments were on the Three Sisters Traverse, just kind of jumping down into some of the alpine lakes. There's a lot of really cool ponds and glacier ponds with, we just refilled our water bottles. Also a morning on Rainier where we watched a killer sunrise, and that was an amazing moment.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's been the most challenging shoot you've had to do?
Honestly, the most challenging thing to shoot on this trip in the actual skiing and climbing sections has been, I'd say Mount Jefferson, but like honestly, we've just been completely worked, like so physically tired. It really takes a lot of fortitude to like stop, set up a shot, and get done. So honestly, I'd say Mount Jefferson, getting the few shots we got on Mount Jefferson, just getting those was tiring. We'd already hiked like 12 miles that day. It was like 90 degrees. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's also to echo that, I mean, your pack is not light. You're carrying your skis, crampons, medical kit, ropes, glacier kit, and just like in the heat of the sun, it's June, July, and you're also you're sweaty and exhausted after biking and sleeping in the dirt, and yeah, the whole thing is just kind of like challenging to just like pick up the camera and, as Eric was saying, frame a shot. But
sometimes we didn't even frame. I was just spraying things. Like, super sloppy.
yeah, it's
a lot
tough.
of looking back at my photos has been really rough on this one because you think you're mentally clear, you think you're like on top of it, and then sometimes I'll go in and like every shot was out of focus, and I just was too tired to realize it. So, and that's a good learning experience.
And what about the most fun shoot?
I'd say the most fun shoot on the trip for me was actually Mount McLaughlin. It had this really cool entrance to this little couloir, and dropping into Mount McLaughlin, it just looks jagged from down below, and there's some fog going, and we had 5 skiers total, or 6. So a lot of opportunities to take that same shot over and over and over. So we got a lot of different tries. So I think we got a couple right, but it was awesome. I love Mount McLaughlin.
Yeah, I'd say one of my, like, not the best shoots, like, not the best ones, but one of my favorite ones of the trip so far was Shasta. We had crazy powder towards the top, skiing from just under 14,000 feet, powder to about 8,000 feet, and then we had spring corn. We were also with our friend Pete McAfee, and he had one leg and climbed to the top of Mount Shasta and then shredded down on on one ski. So that was one of that was a favorite kind of part of the project.
Really a high noon light, but it was still like one of my favorite pictures of the trip I took was of Pete.
Yeah, it was not so much like the quality of the shot, but it was more of like the experience and kind of those memories and stories you can share. It's like, this is not the best photo in the world, but it's like there's just a lot more depth to it. You're like, wow, like this was a cool day where we spent with a new friend, and he really inspired us to push our limits and like not to complain.
Totally.
If you weren't creators, what would you be?
Probably be a mountain guide, honestly. Probably try that. I mean, it seems like another career in the mountains, another fun one. I don't know. Probably would do more. I mean, we still guide, so it's hard to say, but probably guide more.
Yeah, I would also probably get a lot more into guiding. I have no idea. For some reason, I was imagining being a librarian.
Best piece of advice.
I would say the best piece of advice I've ever received was to go find mentors. And actually, a mentor told me to read the book Mastery by Robert Greene, which is more about the process of finding mentors and what an apprenticeship looks like and how to go about that. And I wouldn't say we've been following that necessarily, but I would say when I'm ready to take the next step in photography and taking this more seriously, I've got a really good blueprint and plan based on that book that I'm going to follow.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And there's two things I like to think about like every single day. And a quote read in an article about 4.5 years ago was, "You are the average of the 5 closest people you surround yourself by." So it really emphasizes the point to really surround yourself with really good friends who help motivate you and are passionate about similar things and also give you constructive criticism and are blunt, and you really can go experience these things together. Another one is very famous explorer Mike Horn once shared with us. He said that the world is only as big as you think it is. So it also just emphasizes the point to you really don't know unless you try something new or do your research. So there's been many instances where you think you know a lot, but you really don't know what you don't know. So yeah, those.
Aside from your camera, what's your favorite piece of gear?
I think other than a camera, my favorite piece of gear is probably my skis, honestly. I love skiing. Look pretty sweet.
Yeah, I would have to totally agree with that. For sure. Skis are my favorite.
If there were to be a movie about your life, who would play each of you?
This would be a movie about, I think I should guess, I'll name your actor and you name my actor.
Okay, I'm gonna have to think a little bit more. Okay, but yeah, we could do that.
All right, you go first.
Is it a serious or joking
I
one?
don't know. You go first. We'll go from there.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would say Stein's is Owen Wilson.
Okay, interesting. I would have to say Eric is Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, that's a good one. I like it. That's a good call. I thought you were gonna say like Ben Stiller or something.
I was actually about to say Danny DeVito.
Or Vince Vaughn.
Okay, last question. Who should we interview next?
Honestly, there's a really awesome photographer. Her name's Erin Hogue.
Oh yeah.
She's, not really well known in like the social space, but she's extremely talented. She's Sony Alpha female and Oprah Insider and crazy talented photographer. But I would probably say, if CJ and Erin would be two great people to interview for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Maria, we got to get ready, start packing up the final stuff, and get back on the road, back to Tahoe. But it was great chatting with you, and thanks for the interview.
Yeah, thanks for all the questions, and it's been awesome. Sharing our story.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay, good luck. See ya.